Abia Akram has been at the forefront of gender advocacy in Pakistan, really weaving a very strong message that you can't have gender rights without disability rights, and you can't have disability rights without gender rights. She talks a lot about her experience with discrimination and how we can protect women with disabilities from violence and abuse. Her leadership in Pakistan has dramatically changed the landscape and really put non-discrimination on the map throughout the entire Asia Pacific region. Let's check out what she has to say. You're a dear friend, and I think that city leaders and folks working to change cities can learn a lot from you and your work in Pakistan, both on the gender issues and also on disability and access issues. But today we're going to talk about discrimination. Tell me a little bit about, I think from an activist perspective, we oftentimes try to tackle policies and we don't talk enough about feelings. And feelings are important because those are the things that make us feel like we belong or feel like we don't belong. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with discrimination and how you've felt about it, how it feels?
I know all over the world, women with disabilities, generally they are facing all the discrimination. And if we talk about the global south, that there are a lot of challenges that double or triple time they are facing. And if we talk about the South Asian countries like Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, and all these countries, women with disabilities are really facing a lot of discrimination. And the government don't have the system to count the person with disabilities. They don't have the proper mechanism to address their basic need. Like for me, being very blessed with the presence of my parents who are educated in a very strong community where I have my siblings, my mentors, and everybody was with me. But still, I had to fight for my basic right of getting a quality education with what I want. Because everybody was recommending, no, you don't need to go to, in a good school or all and study a difficult courses. You just go and do the simple education. It will be convenient for you. So that kind of discrimination when I started, like my brother also studied in UK, but when I asked my parents like I want to go, so they said no, you can't go because it will be difficult for you to manage. But I feel like it's a discrimination, but at the same time I use my disability as a benefit because I like in our culture women don't go out of country for studies. It's not easy for them, but being a woman with disability I convinced my parents very easily because they thought like, okay, she's not going to get married, so it's okay if she study abroad or do whatever she wants. Because for my other sisters, maybe it was not acceptable for them to go and study in any other country. There is like sexual health and reproductive rights, which women and girls with disabilities are never talking about it. And they are getting all that like complications in their health problems in their life, but still nobody want to address that. Like I was the first woman with disability in Pakistan who have started working on the rights of women and girls with disability, though it was not very acceptable because all the men with disabilities initially they were the mentors and they were supporting, but then at some point when they realized like it's going to be in a strong way, like women with disabilities are talking about different topics which are not acceptable in the community, so then they started arguing about that and discussing about that, so how we can support women with disabilities. So that was another challenge which we faced in the disability movement and at the same time in the gender movement.
Tell us a little bit about how it makes people feel. Either you have felt, what is the response that you've had, and tell us a little bit about what the opposite is. Christ, the opposite of discrimination. How does that make you feel?
And I also find like there's no mechanism which is available where we can report to this kind of discrimination. Police are not aware about it. They don't have the sign language interpretation facilities. They don't know how to report or see the witnessing of a blind woman who got this discrimination. So these were the like doubly or triply discrimination against women and girls with disability. And when we talk about their sexual health and reproductive right, they are the first one who got sexually harassed. But at the same time, nobody thought like they can sexually or have the right to have their own families or their own kids, because they thought like they cannot manage that. But how on the other way they got sexually harassed and violence against them. So these are the challenges which practically every woman with disability faced in their life, but they are not finding a safe space where they can talk to each other, where they can share those kind of experiences with other people.
That's incredibly powerful. Let's talk a little bit about the specific experience of the opposite. Have you seen a specific experience of inclusion or how non-discrimination has worked?
I have seen like many women with disability, because when I started my work in the disability sector, though it was not very easy to bring those women with disabilities out of their homes because they were completely confined, nobody was talking to them. But when we started peer counseling, we went to the homes of those women with disability, spent time with them just to talk like what's the problem, why they are feeling like all these challenges. I haven't seen in other countries that much discrimination in the developed countries, but why in the developing countries this whole discussions around disability inclusion is missing. So we started talking with them, we engaged them in different trainings, we talk to their parents and show them like you can come to my home, meet with my parents, I have also the disability and all. This kind of like interaction we have started in a very grassroots level, and then we bring those women in different conferences and meetings, and then we established a small group of like women advocates who accepted this thing and who was willing to contribute. Now I can see a very positive change in the lives of women with disability when they realized and accepted their disability. They got trainings on gender, on disability, on leadership, and they also get some understanding about the dignified life and how they can contribute for themselves and also for supporting their families. So in that way, we have seen a very positive change, and those women with disabilities are not only working for their own rights, but they are contributing a lot in all over the development process. They talked about the policy reforms. It's not only about their own personal life changing, their career, their job, their experiences, but they are trying to bring their voices on the global agenda. I heard many development organizations, they thought like we just need to include the minimum standards of accessibility, minimum standards of inclusion. But for me, it's very important to talk about the maximum, and the people who have minor disabilities or minor discrimination, they can automatically incorporate. So we need to create that a strong like opportunity or equal opportunity platform where we can engage women with disabilities at all levels in a meaningful participation. It's not only about like fixing the numbers, how many of them are there, but it's really important to see what kind of change they can bring.
Your leadership is incredible. I think that's a great example for young people. What would you tell young women and youth advocates? What kind of a call to action do you have?
Accept your disabilities, accept your diversity and diversified life, and try to create opportunities not only for yourself but for all. because this is a critical time. We need to support each other, and if we don't, then we will not able to get the good things in our lives too. So this is really important, like how you see the connection, the networking, and also sharing that information with others. Disability is not only like always people get worried or very concerned about disability, but for me, I'm very proud of my disability, and I feel like this is important, like how you celebrate it, but at the same time, think about those who are still confined in the homes.